Hello everybody, I hope you can hear us. We haven't had a chance to do any checks this morning because our tyre was flat. Why it was flat I'm not sure, but it was, and it is no longer, so that's good. You are on a live safari. My name is James Henry. Tebs is on camera. Hello Tebs. And we are in the northeast corner of South Africa, recently voted the most beautiful country in the world, which is great news. And mostly by South Africans, of course. And we're sitting in the western fringes of the Kruger National Park. Dawn has just broke, the sun has yet to come up over the horizon, and our plan this morning is to just check around an area where Karula, the great queen of Djuma, an 11-year-old female leopard, was last seen. She was on a kill yesterday on the reserve just to the south of us, and we're hoping maybe that she's come north. I'm not sure what Brent's plans are other than to try and get a picture, but that's the story with us this morning. The second thing, of course, that you need to know is that you are on a live safari, which means we want to talk to you. Hashtag Safari Live if you would like to ask any questions at all about what we're seeing or about the operation here or what we do, and then questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. So that's hashtag Safari Live if you're tweeting, and questions at WildEarthTV if you're on the email. So our general plan is that there is a beautiful pink cloud about to start shining in the light of the sun, and in front of them a little herd of impala that are just basking in the glory of having survived the night unscathed. There they are. Very pretty. The most common antelope we get here, of course, and the favoured food of just about every single predator out here, from cheetah to wild dogs to hyena to leopard and lion. A bit small for lions, but very nice tasty snacks while on the way to try and catch bigger things like buffalo. In the background you can hear Shelley's Franklin calling. Isn't that lovely? And the little babies and their mothers. And there has been a dearth, I suppose, of predator activity in this area for the last few days, which is totally normal. And that means that every day those little babies will have a slightly better chance of getting old, surviving to their first birthday. Only about 50% of those little baby impalas will survive to their first birthday. You can see one there, just his head or her head knocking above the others. And it's about 18 degrees centigrade here at the moment, which is a very pleasant temperature for it to be out here. And that works out, I think, at about 67 or 66 degrees Fahrenheit. There's two fork-tailed drongos. Beautiful little fork-tailed drongos. They're just sitting there enjoying the fact that the impala are kicking up the odd invertebrate, insect, maybe a spider or two as they walk through the grass. And the sharp eyes of those drongos can spot those, and they'll go off and hawk them off the ground. Well, that's not strictly hawking, actually. It's more picking them off the ground or hawking them out of the air. Beautiful little morning scene. Right, I believe that Brent Leo Smith seems to be back up and running. Well, he's just sort of up and running. He is with Andrew. Let's hand over to them. And before we do that, of course, flying solo in the final control is Geraldine, all alone this morning, but I'm sure that she will be fine. So send her some very well New Year's wishes, and I'll see you just a little bit later.
Good morning and welcome to Andrew, Joseph Francis and Brent Kevin Leo Smith's last drive of 2015. It is going to be epic. We have moved towards the eastern boundary where we had those buffalo herds, hoping that the Birmingham boys have followed them in. Unfortunately, as I've just seen, there are buffalo behind me, so they have not followed them in. And so hopefully there's a leopard or two that have come in to grace us with their presence on our last drive. Here we have a small herd of buffalo that are not being pursued by lions. So, as wonderful as buffalo are, I always find them far more entertaining when being pursued by lions. Little breeding herd. We saw 3 little breeding herds like this last night. And as you can see, they have corralled over the night in a tight little circle for protection against lions, and unfortunately lions have not made an appearance. Yes, I don't owe you any money. Stop looking at me like that. Unfortunately, it's very early in the morning, so the terrible biting flies have not managed to make an appearance just yet. So this is how buffalo often spend their evenings. They'll find a relatively open area. She a pretty girl. Slightly wonky horns, but quite feminine for a buffalo at least. Looks like she's not used to having a compliment. She looks like she's actually quite surprised. And you can see she doesn't have that very distinct, heavily built boss of the males. If we go to the right of her, there's a little one. But judging by the length of his horns, probably between 6 months and a year old, has the same bemused expression as the female. So buffalo quite often spend their nights, they find a nice, slightly more open area, and they band together. And you normally have males or older females on the outside and the little ones in the middle. And if we come off to the right a bit more there, Andrew, you can see he looks like, let's go, moving, that one. He looks like he's definitely the boss, with his very dominant boss and a slightly evil glint in his eye. So that'll be one of the dominant herd bulls. And he will sleep on the peripheries of the herd. Very small herd, I'd say 50 animals. So we saw 3 herds like this yesterday. And we're really hoping as we got to our eastern boundary that the lions might have possibly followed them in from the south. Well, there we go. A bit of grumpiness in the morning. Hasn't had his coffee. Now the female, slightly more alert than the rest, really doesn't want to be eaten by lions this morning. And she's not looking at us. She's staring blandly into the distance. And there we go, you can see on the left there, the rumination, or chewing the cud. You can actually see the bolus in the cheek, in the cheek. So, buffaloes have 4 stomachs, like most ruminants. And I wonder who is wide awake at this ungodly hour this morning, and wide awake enough to tell me what are the names of the 4 stomachs of a ruminant. And if you do know, you can send your answers through to questions@WildEarthTV or use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter.
Nothing so far. One point say is not sure we're breaking. I think he started. I'm not sure.
I just have to be on the radio for a second.
Okay, go ahead, jump down. Going along,
They're slightly older. Oh no, it's the exact same calf. I apologize. They're probably between 6 months and a year old. If we go to the left, past the... That's one thing. So if buffalo are not staring at you like they want to murder you, to the left of that one there, they have a very bemused look upon their face. This one has definitely not had its morning coffee, and is dozing off. It's a slightly older calf, probably just over a year old. Why have you not brought lions with you guys? So hopefully they might not have brought lions, but hopefully we will find leopard tracks in the wonderful soft sand. And don't forget, those of you who are not sure, remember, what are the names of the 4 stomachs of a ruminant? And you can send your answers through to questions@WildEarth.tv or use the hashtag SafariLive. Now we see this cow has got some leaves stuck behind her ear, and that is from scratching. And she's obviously got some ticks and whatnot, and buffalo obviously don't have a useful opposable thumb, or even fingers at that matter, like we do. So quite often they will scratch using trees, and it's not uncommon that those branches get stuck behind their ears. So Eric from Virginia Beach is wondering, what is the purpose of that white patch below buffalo's eyes? It is called a preorbital gland, and it releases different pheromones. And in buffalo, in most animals, it's used for scent marking and establishing territory. Now, buffalo are a non-territorial animal, so it's quite interesting. And I'm not 100% sure what the function the preorbital glands feature in buffalo. It probably got a bit to do with mating. It might start weeping when they're a bit stressed, or it could just be to make them look funny. But we're going to leave this little herd of buffalo. We're going to continue north along the eastern boundary, and fingers crossed we're going to find some kitty cat tracks for Andrew and my last drive. Goodbye, buffaloes. No, don't get up. Don't get up. Stay down. A very good morrow to you, Donna, who's contacting us via Twitter. I mean, Donna is very technologically savvy, probably far more than Andrew and myself. And Donna would like to know if I've ever seen a buffalo at birth. Do they ever leave the herd? Sometimes they do, Donna. Normally they actually give birth within the herd while they're on the move. And I have seen probably more than 30 or 40 buffalo birds. I was fortunate enough in the area I grew up in northern Botswana. We recorded the largest buffalo herd since the rinderpest in the concession we were in. And it was so big that the Botswana government launched an aeroplane with a photographer in it who took photos of it, and some poor research assistant had to count every individual buffalo in that herd, and there were just over 5,000 buffalo in that herd. And actually in that particular herd at that time of the year, I actually saw 3 birds out of that herd. But if you spend a lot of time following buffalo herds, you get lucky enough to see birds. They do not have a distinct birthing or mating season. It continues throughout the year. And some of you will notice that we are in Rusty, but we're enjoying an incredibly smooth ride. Turned out we had the wrong shock absorbers in here. They were made for someone who thought he was Michael Schumacher in a Land Rover, who owned this vehicle before us. Incredibly hard racing road shocks. Obviously, the moment you hit a hole the size of a penny, it felt like you had descended into Middle Earth. But now with these new shocks, I don't have to throw the camera off. I can purposely hit bumps and they don't cry and shout at me. Very good morrow to Ashley in Alabama. Ashley would like to know, how fast can a buffalo run? Much faster than a person. So They can hit a top speed of around 45 kilometers an hour, and they can maintain that for quite some time. I'm unfortunately incredibly bad at conversions and maths, so I'm going to have to let you guys figure out what 45 kilometers an hour is in miles per hour. Guessing it's around the 20 or 25 miles an hour mark, but as I said, that is a complete bust. I'm very, very bad at mathematics. There we go. Geraldine, or as she's affectionately known as Gerald, has come through from final control. There's 27 miles per hour, which is faster than the fastest man. And the big difference between the buffalo and the fastest man can't keep that up for more than probably about 60 meters, whereas the buffalo can do that for a couple of 100 meters. We developed large brains and opposable thumbs, so we don't have to run too fast and climb trees to escape predators or marauding buffalo. So it seems like we have very smart viewers, and you've all got the 4 names of the ruminant right. Gilly, Margaret, Dax, actually I think it was Margaret who is being very funny this early in the morning, who says the stomach's named 1, 2, 3 and 4. Well, I suppose, Margaret, you're not incorrect, but you're not 100% correct. And obviously the most important stomach in those 4 is the rumen. And that is where the buffalo, or all buffalo, impala, giraffe, get their generic term of ruminants from. Oh, look at that, Andrew. Now, those are quite interesting tracks. If we go into the road ahead of us, it is the tracks of a bicycle, which means anti-poachers have been here before me this morning. Although we don't see them often, I'm sure they see us often, as they're keeping our animals safe. This Harvey Sands is a very effective and very professional anti-poaching team. I think some of the biggest frights I've got since I've been at Wild Earth has been while tracking lions or leopards in the bush, and suddenly looked to the side and seen a person with a large caliber firearm hiding in a bush. And it's turned out to be the anti-poaching team. So they will use bicycles to move bigger distances between places, but then they will set up a little fly camp somewhere in the middle of the bush and then do foot patrols from there. Andrew, why aren't the lions here? A very good morning to Lucy in Indiana. She says, I know the lions will kill young ones, but do they kill more males or females? Well, Lucy, I don't think they actually choose. It's the closest one they can grab. And to the exact ratio of the sex of buffalo that are devoured by lions, I would say I have absolutely no idea. Any lion tracks, Andrew? I think it looked like it. No. Just buffalo from the other herd of buffalo. As I said, we saw 3 in this area last night, and I was really hoping that we could with the 3 herds of buffalo, it would attract at least one lion, even a half a lion, even a small lion. But so far, no luck. And as I said, we don't see the anti-poaching very often. I mean, if you have a quick look from a distance, we won't put the guys' faces on camera. They don't, it's not good for them, but there we go. There's some anti-poaching guys. So if the camera goes off to the left, it's not because we're trying to hide anything from you. It's because it is, we prefer not to have our anti-poaching staffs to faces on camera for obvious reasons, and I do ask kindly that you don't delve into too many questions on this. It is a very sensitive topic in South Africa at the moment, so we will leave it at that, so to speak. Up to the left, Andrew. Oh, Minjan.
Good.
Ja, Bogis.
Bogile.
Sharp, wait. Yes?
Alright.
Sharp, what happens in the Ngala, Yabam?
No. Guys, don't have a cigarette, guys.
Loot him for you. I see I live. Ja, come there.
La.
Thank you. No, we don't have any cigarettes. But yeah, look at loot Ingwe. Loot.
Just the rain.
Okay. Nkomfo.
Yeah.
Sharp. Enjoy. Watch out for the lions, ne?
Yeah.
Is a cabin, yeah. Just on the road, yeah. No, on the road.
Oh, on the road.
Nkomo.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bicycles and a great sense of humor.
They unfortunately have not seen any lions or leopards. They have only seen another herd of buffalo. Because it is our last drive, I'm going to let Andrew Joseph Francis decide where we should go next from this corner. I have not found any lion tracks. So let's see. I absolve myself from all blame of not finding animals today, because we're going to let Andrew Joseph Francis decide where to go. So Andrew, we're approaching the Cheetah Cut Line Junction, Buffalo's Hook Cut Line. Where to from here?
Hide straight away.
Oh. Unfortunately for Andrew, I'm not going to hide in straight away. There has been another vehicle through there already. Andrew, unfortunately, does not get to listen to the game drive radio like I do. And there are no hyenas there. Apart from the hyena den straight away, Andrew, where do we go?
Away from the sun.
As we can see, the undulating hills of the northern Sabi Sands ahead of us on the Buffalo's Hook Cut Line. And from here, it's such a clear day. We can see actually beyond the Sabi Sands and all the way. That is the village of Utah's water tank in the distance. That is shining. There we go. Andrew is now trying to find a leopard for us. Come on, Andrew. Faster. Gilly in Wisconsin, one of our regulars who we appreciate daily, would like to know how long Andrew and I are going to be away for. Forever, Gilly, forever. We're never coming back. No, I'm only playing. And will we ever tune in to watch the drives while we're away? Gilly, if I'm 100% honest, I don't think one of us tunes into the drives when we're away. We get updates, of course. I will get daily updates from my wonderful girlfriend Jamie, so I will know what's going on. But also, we are heading into deepest to darkest Africa. Andrew and I are heading up to Zimbabwe, and the likelihood of a good internet connection on the banks of Lake Kariba, while we are surrounded by elephants and tigerfish, is very unlikely. But we'll be gone for about 2 weeks, and then we will be back fresh and rejuvenated and ready to give James Henry as much uphill as possible. Andrew, which way?
Left.
Left, Andrew says left. And speaking of James Henry, as much as we enjoy giving him a hard time, hopefully he's found more animals than we have this morning, which is very little. But let's go see what he's up to.
There are no animals on Djuma, I'm afraid, and that's why we haven't found more than Nat.Geo Smith has. But I hold out hope. And Tebs was actually just asking me while we were driving along, he said, where is everything? And I think, well, first of all, there's obviously a natural ebb and flow of animals in a certain area. And secondly, the property to the north of us, could you just hear? The property to the north of us has got so much water on it that I think a lot of the animals are heading there. Certainly a lot of the herbivores, the water-dependent species. And because of that, those water-dependent species will also attract predators, and so the predators will kind of hang around the water holes. So 3 very beautiful kudu cows, but that will change. It's ebb and flow, and as the grazing runs out around that water, you'll find an area like this, which, while it has less water, is certainly will certainly hold what little grazing there is for a bit longer, because it doesn't have herds of animals all of that's propaganda radio. It doesn't have great herds of animals trying to eat what little grass there is. So perfectly normal ebb and flow. The kudu, of course, are browsing, which makes life a little bit easier for them at the moment than it will for the grazers. There's still quite a lot of green leaf on the trees, but I have to say, as we drove through this morning, the trees are looking sad. There's a lot of wilting in the leaves, and that's because there's just no water in the soil. I mean, we're about to hit January, and we've probably had less than 100 millimeters of rain. Now, that in inches is about 4 inches of rain. We've had less than that. So things are looking a bit dire. Beautiful, lovely golden light there on those magnificent kudu. Hello, BJ in Pennsylvania. You've watched a documentary on something called a blood tree, and you say they're natives to South Africa, and do we find them in the Kruger? BJ, I've got to confess to you, I don't know what tree you mean. Can you possibly send through a tweet with a botanical name, so a Latin name? The common names, there are often lots of different common names. We might have it, we might not. So if you could send through the botanical name, I'll tell you if we get it here, and possibly where in South Africa you could find it. Trees, of course, there are probably well over 1,000 species of tree that you find in this area. In the Kruger area, and I've not heard of the blood tree. I don't think. A small bell ringing in the back of my mind, but certainly not sort of that makes me think, yes, of course. So if you can send through the botanical name, that would be great. And I'll try and find out for you if we have it here. And if we do, I will most certainly take you to it. But look at this tree here to the right-hand side. See how its leaves are wilting. That is a very unusual situation for this time of year. You can see them just drooping miserably, facing the ground. But what I would like you to take from this, of course, is that a drought is entirely normal for this area. It's not like there's been some kind of anthropogenic effect. We know that climate change is an issue. Whether that's an issue here and whether that's causing the drought, I don't think so. It goes through cycles. While it can be a little bit difficult to watch because, yes, animals are going to start losing condition fairly soon, and that's not going to be pleasant to watch. It's an open system. For millennia, it's dealt with droughts, it's dealt with flood, it's dealt with all sorts of different kind of environmental hazards and environmental disasters. So it's perfectly adapted to dealing with it. And while it will take a hit, it's a dynamic equilibrium, and it will bring about changes that are very interesting and will be fascinating to watch. One thing that I suppose from a game viewing point of view is not a great thing is that the drought will probably favor the trees more than it does the grasses. Well, the trees will survive it better because they've got much deeper root systems, where the grasses, of course, don't. So they will die off quickly because they need surface water in order to sort of flush and stay alive. Right, we're heading to Treehouse Dam. I think we need to rename Treehouse Dam something else, because to call the puddle that is... Ooh, look at this. No, I thought it was a frog. It is a stick. It is not a frog, it is a stick. To call Treehouse Dam a dam at this stage is ridiculous. Hello Chantel, you're in Canada, where I don't think you're having a drought. You're obviously quite clued up and you want to know the difference between a greater kudu and a lesser kudu. The lesser kudu, as far as I understand it, is not found, well, it's definitely not found here. Found up, I think, into Zambia and possibly into Tanzania and Kenya. The lesser kudu, I think, Chantel, is just smaller than the greater kudu. I think you'll find that they could probably interbreed quite successfully were they to be found in the same place. But the greater kudu is just slightly larger. So just to confirm, it's the greater kudu that we're seeing out here. Right, here we are arriving at this amazing puddle, where not much is going on. We go onto the dam wall there, have a general assessment of the area. We'll listen out, listen to the dawn chorus and see if we can't hear some animals' alarm calling. Go. So, an update from Gilly, who has given us the Latin name of the blood tree, or what could be the blood tree. I'm going to ask for it again in my ear because I didn't quite get it. Geraldine, if I might have it again, as I look at the sun. Jacana cinnabari. Right, so there it is. I've certainly never heard of it before, so I'm pretty sure that we don't find it here, and apparently extinct almost because of desertification in North Africa, so I've never seen it in this area. Remember, there's some birds in here, Tibbs, I don't know if you can see them. Remember, Africa is a giant continent, of course, and the vegetation of the Sahel or semi-desert areas of North Africa just south of the Sahara will be entirely distinct from the vegetation here in South Africa. I mean, they're thousands and thousands of miles away. Ah, well spotted. It's a rattling testicle, everybody. And we seldom see them. They normally just fly away from us. Is it a rattling testicular? It might be something else. It might be a prinia. I'm just looking. I can't actually see it, so I'm having to watch through my monitor. Pretty sure that is a rattling testicular. Yes. Isn't he lovely? Look at him enjoying the early sunlight. It feels like it's going to be quite a scorcher today. I don't think it is. Apparently the weather report says it'll be about 90 degrees. Ooh, and a squirrel. I think that's what they were alarm calling at, possibly those birds. What the squirrel's looking for. Now squirrels are rodents, of course, which means that they will eat seeds, they'll eat nuts, they'll eat insects and that sort of thing. I don't think the birds would have any trouble from them. Oh, that said, I mean, we know that rats certainly will get into small birds' nests, so maybe there is a little bit of danger to a tiny fledgling bird from a squirrel. They'll eat pretty much anything. Right, on we go. Not a great deal, no teeming herds streaming down to Treehouse Dam to have a drink. And when we talk about desertification, well, this is pretty desertified, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty warm. There's our shadow, you can see us. Sorry, Tibbs, before we move on, I think we should take advantage of everything we can. There's a dove sitting on the tree just here, and we don't often get them sitting so confidingly. It's lovely. Looks like a green spotted or emerald spotted wood dove, or a laughing dove. I should be able to tell. I think it's a laughing dove, everybody. And lovely light on the leaves there. Very peaceful morning. And that, of course, is one of the major reasons I live out here. The elephants and the leopards and the lions and the wild dogs to me are something of a bonus. To come and sit out here in the early dawning light with the dove preening itself gently, and a couple of squirrels foraging next to us, the chin spot batis going just around here. It's just a great feeling of peacefulness. Right, let us continue our little journey of discovery. See what else we can find. One of the sad things about this drought is the weavers, whose nests are just up there. There's a village of spotted-backed weavers. They seem to have abandoned their nests, and I don't think that they're going to come back and build them. They normally build over water, of course, so they would have started building expecting there to be some water here, and alas, that is not the case. I'm just listening to the radio update. There we go. Nothing of any import. Hello, Cat on Twitter, and you say we need to discover the new carnivore, the invisible cat. They're all over the place, Cat. Look at them. Plenty of invisible carnivores all over the place. So invisible, so effectively invisible that we cannot see them. Now, I'm sure Brent told you that Karula was last seen south of us on a kill, and so maybe she's come north this morning. He's going to check the southern boundary. I'll check around here and see if her tracks don't come back. But otherwise, cat-wise, it's been very quiet. Yeah, like I said a few days ago, it is possible that Shadow has got cubs. We don't know. She has been moving into and out of an area where there's a little possible den site. And what that means is we don't go and sort of stick our heads in there and try and disturb her and find out if there is anything. We'll wait 2 or 3 weeks and then go and have a look and see what's going on. That's just on the northern fringes of Arathusa. That will be very exciting if that happens. That means that she's kind of out of commission for the next little while. Yeah, so that's where we are, leopard-wise. Lions obviously don't like Djuma. They haven't been here for 5 or 6 weeks. Just listening to the radio. Apparently Tingana was found to the south of us and he was heading north. Whether he actually makes it into Djuma or not, well, we don't know. Maybe. We are now quite close to the southern boundary and we're going to head around to Twin Dams, of course, which hasn't carried water for some months. Genevieve, you're in New York and you want to know about temperature drops, and you say, have we ever experienced a significant temperature drop in a very short period of time? Yes, we have. I mean, that happens if a storm comes through, it can be 40 degrees, and then after the storm it'll drop to sort of 18, which is what it is now. So 40 degrees is about 103 in Fahrenheit, and it'll drop down to 67 in the space of, I don't know, half an hour or so. So that definitely happens. In winter it tends to be fairly consistent, or not consistent, but it'll go from 4 degrees centigrade in the mornings, which I think is probably about 48 Fahrenheit or so, and it'll go up to a very balmy and pleasant 72 during the middle of the day, and then back down again at night, and that is consistent for almost 3 months. It'll do that. And in summertime you do have the great changes with the big weather systems that come through. It really is not a great deal to be looking at right now. There are tracks on the road. It might be time to run for the hyena den to see if we can find something there. Heavens, we're getting some difficult ones today. Jeffrey in Texas, you say a binturong is an Asian species of mammal that also has popcorn-smelling urine, the same as a leopard does. Jeffrey, without knowing what a binturong is, I've got no idea, other than to say maybe it's just whatever it is, there's a hormone in it that helps to fix the scent to whatever they mark the territories on, and perhaps it's an example of co-evolution. I don't know what a binturong is. It's an antelope, a rodent, a carnivore. Let me know what it is. Hang on, here we go. Oh, it's a viverrid. Okay, so it's a viverrid, or bear cat, so it looks like, basically it's a civet. That would be the closest relative. And I suspect, Jeffrey, it's simply a case of the fact that there's a fixative in the urine, like a perfume fixative, and civets are certainly used for perfume fixatives. Their anal glands are used for that. I suspect it just helps the scent to stay on whatever tree they're marking. That's why it smells like buttered popcorn. I have to confess, I've never thought that it does smell like buttered popcorn. I've seen countless leopards marking their territory, and buttered popcorn is the last of what I smell. And when I go to the movies, when I'm allowed out to the city, the last thing I think of when I'm walking to buy my ticket is, ooh, that smells like a leopard's just marked here. I think it smells like slightly sort of spicy urine. Michelle in Michigan, you would like me to spell Cisticola for you, for your bird list. C-I-S-T-I-C-O-L-A. C-I-S-T-I-C-O-L-A. Now, many people will say Cisticola. This is the first time I heard it was Cisticola, so yeah. Call it anything you like. That's what it is. C-I-S-T-I-C-O-L-A. Cisticola. It sounds like a fairly rare kind of soft drink, I suppose. Now, Teresa, you want to know there's a treehouse in Treehouse Dam. There used to be, Teresa, and it was quite interesting. That was built. It's actually a fascinating story. It was built for. There's also a road around there called Savage's Track, and it's called Savage's Track because there was a plan to have a kind of reality TV show in the wild, where you'd put drop off some. The concept's fairly common. You drop off some good-looking people, and they have to survive in the wild. And you put cameras all over the trees there, and you just see what happens, basically. And it was sort of like almost like a big brother in the bush. And it seemed to be that the concept was going to take off, and they were going to do it. I think they actually had. I think they filmed the first episode or two, and that was at Treehouse Dam. So there was a treehouse there, and there was also a show, and I think it was called Savages, and that's why the road's called Savages Track. I may be getting this wrong, but I think it's pretty accurate. And then, that was in 2001, in September. And of course, the world's media attention very quickly switched from any kind of reality television in Africa to the disaster that befell New York City. And apparently, that basically killed off the concept. And so it never got off the ground. But the treehouse was taken down, and the dam remained as Treehouse Dam. The treehouse may have existed before that, and Savage's Track retained its name. And the good-looking sort of half-celebrity, B-grade celebrities went home and got on with their lives. Probably to be found at office desks as we speak. Right, there's nothing at Treehouse Dam, unsurprisingly. Tracks on the road. So I think what we'll do is make our way gently up towards Gallagher Pan, possibly check in with our hyena den. I didn't go once to the hyena den yesterday, and of course I normally need my twice daily fix of hyena action. While we do that, before we do that actually, there's a little couple of crested barbets. You see the bird there, Ted?
Confirm you're in over here, bud.
Beautiful crested barbet there. And you can't see this because he's silhouetted, of course, but he's black and white and yellow and red. Beautiful bird, but very scruffy. Them and the tawny eagle were notoriously scruffy. See? He's hardly got smooth feathers like the woodland kingfisher, for example. Now, he's a fruitarian, largely, which means that, or a frugivore, which means he's going to struggle to find a lot of food around here at the moment. But he will eat insects as well, and you'll find them eating termites quite a lot. Termites are great food for any animal, from humans to warthogs to birds to lizards. They're so full of fatty energy. And there you can hear the other one calling. Let's see if this one calls. Also known as the alarm clock bird. And this is actually the name, I think this is the first bird I ever learned. And that was because I may have mentioned her before, but my parents had a cat called Miss Brown. And Miss Brown was a vicious Burmese, and she used to catch birds in the garden in Johannesburg. and the crested barbet was a particular favourite. There he's calling. See how indignant he looks. That's quite sweet. And the barbet, of course, is a hole nesting bird, and one of the few birds with a bill heavy enough to be able to dig its own tree hole. So while they will no doubt steal other birds' nests or use originally woodpecker dug holes, and they can dig their own. Look how indignant he looks. Alright, let's carry on from the crested barbet. You can see the sun shining in his eye there. Ah, fascinating stuff here. We really are scraping the barrel at the moment. Leo Smith is at Treehouse Dam, and he's there to show you the remnants of the treehouse. I will try and find some form of interesting mammal to show you in the next little while. Remember, everybody, we do have something to look forward to at the end of the drive, of course, and that is the 50-metre sprint-off between Brent Longlegs Leo Smith and James Sandpiper Legs Henry. We'll see what happens then. We'll probably try and do that at about 10 to 8.
Well, let us hope James's running skills are better than his observation skills, but we are at the Treehouse Waterhole, and the reason it is called the Treehouse Waterhole is because there was a treehouse here, and there are some of the remnants. Maybe I should have got James a pair of glasses for Christmas. As you can see, there used to be a treehouse in that marula tree at the western edge of the dam many years ago. It's a nice little viewing platform. Whoever built it was very brave, because the last tree I would build a viewing platform is a marula. They are not the strongest of trees, and their branches tend to fall down when the wind blows stiffly. I, fortunately, being the well-informed individual that I am, have heard that Karula has been found. She is south of our boundary, walking parallel to it. So I am in contact with Sean, who's with her at the moment, and I'm hoping that she does decide to, instead of heading west, cut north at some point. So what I'm going to do is make my way towards our southern boundary, and hopefully she comes to join us. And I'm sure Karula would want to see Andrew and I before we leave. No, I'm only joking. She can do what she wants. I don't believe leopards have a particular preference between, or can tell the difference between who's in a vehicle and who's not. Is going to be a beautiful day, and I know a lot of you are excited. This evening Jamie will be on game drive, Andrew and myself will be lounging in the pool. Jamie is taking my spot in the hot seat, and Brian Joubert will be back taking Andrew's spot. So with Brian back, we can look forward to some much better camera work and general stability. Not this wobbly stuff Andrew gives us. As much as we are going to miss being on drive with you, we will definitely think of everyone while we are lounging on a houseboat in Lake Kariba. meter, we'd like to know what type of fish we're going after. Well, Bill, Andrew will be going after anything he can possibly catch. Myself will be targeting the tiger fish specifically, and also trying to teach Andrew, Joseph, and Francis how to fly fish. Andrew, Joseph, Francis is just cleaning the lens quickly. Andrew, have you ever fly fished before?
One time, and it was very dangerous. I nearly got snagged.
Yes, I'm quite looking forward to this because we'll not be using a little 4-weight or 3-weight that you would use for trout. We'll be using a large, heavy 9-weight, throwing large hooks. And I've got a feeling I shall have the joy of surgically removing a few from Andrew's body while he learns to fly fish. But hopefully, by the end of it, we will have a skilled fly fisherman. But our main species we're going to target on fly will definitely be tiger fish and tilapia. And we'll probably try and catch a few big catfish as well, but that won't be on fly. That we'll be using lumps of smelly meat at night.
Bird are we going for?
The lilac-breasted roller. Did you see it?
Negative. Oh, yes.
The terminalia,
Okay.
left-hand branch.
I got him.
There we go. It's a very, very pretty bird. Oh, I apologize. No, it is. It's a funny-looking lilac-breasted roller. It is one of this year's babies. It hasn't quite got its proper colors yet. And the lilac breast is still forming, and the rackets on the elongated tail have not quite formed yet. And once... Oh no, now I've lost the other one. There was an adult, and that's flown off as well. I'm just trying to find that adult lilac-breasted roller. I took my eyes off it for a second and it disappeared. It's the thing about creatures with wings. They can be quite tricky. But isn't that interesting? So where we are, that's possibly one of the roller checks that Scott was keeping a check on. Oh, I hear it. There we go. Oh, they're fighting with a magpie shrike. For what reason, I'm not sure. They were bombing the magpie shrike. The magpie shrike has now buried itself in the center of that baby leadwood. The rollers have moved off, but the rollers were attacking it. Here we go. You can hear the magpie shrike rather than see it. There we go. There it goes. They both feed off similar things, so that's possibly why the rollers were chasing the magpie shrike, due to the fact it's competing for the same food source. So unfortunately I was still on a handheld, so it can be a little bit bad, so I'm just going to ask Gerald to repeat for me that question.
Hello everybody, sorry to pull you away from Brent there, but beautiful little herd of elephants here, and this one is digging in the sand. I'm not sure what she's going for. The first thing she did was to break off a morning glory flower, and I thought she was going to eat it. She discarded it, and now she seems to be digging. So she digs a bit and then she blows away the sand, and then she digs a bit, and there might be a root or something in there that she wants to eat. There's another big, well, not big, young bull coming from behind us. We're still in the sort of treehouse dam vicinity, and I wonder if they're not perhaps hoping to find something to drink there a bit later. So this one is obviously a bull, check the interaction here. Look at him. He's just pushing her out the way, being a bit of a bully. Now, interestingly, he's dripping urine, and I wonder if he isn't sort of coming into a sort of proto-must or first must period. He's a young bull. He's probably about 18 years old, and maybe he's coming into his first must, and so he's just feeling a little bit, well, full of testosterone at the moment. I think we should follow these elephants all day. We're unlikely to find anything else. They seem to be very relaxed with us. Wonderful. Possibly the mother of this one. She's eating wild asparagus. The little one's eating wild asparagus now. And they're very selective feeders, you know. We tend to think of them being fairly indiscriminate. There she's had a bit of lily. Oh, she enjoys those. They're not indiscriminate eaters at all. They will be very selective about what they eat. And very pretty, of course, in the early dawn light. And we've had, because of the lack of rain, I think, and the lack of cloud, we've had some pretty sort of pale gold sunsets and pale gold sunrises. Lack of moisture in the air tends to make things much paler, but equally as lovely. Oh, this is a big cow. And she's watching us carefully. She's just giving us a smell. And you can see she's scratching the inside of her leg with her other leg. Actually, amazingly, she's scratching it on a branch. They're amazingly nimble. They look so sort of unwieldy almost when they're running, when they're walking, but they'll walk up and climb up the most tremendous inclines and go down them with surprising grace. Coming a bit closer to have a look and also to pick some plants. So to see what she eats. She's eating a young Cambritan bush, it looks like to me. And she's smelling around on the ground. Touch, touch, touch. She's also, I think, investigating us. So while she is looking for things to eat, she's definitely coming a little closer to have a look, see what we want. And you can tell that because she's not sort of at the task of feeding with quite the enthusiasm as the young one. Also, she's right next to that lily, and while she's taken it now, she did reject it 3 or 4 times. Now she's watching us very carefully. She doesn't seem to be threatened by us at all. She hasn't shaken her head. She hasn't lifted her head up. She's just watched us quite carefully. Totally silent as she moves. see if she pops out the other end there. There she comes. Now you can see that slight kind of bobbing up and down of the head. The bobbing up and down of the head is, I mean, it's indicative that she's not uncomfortable. She's just saying, I'm watching you, I'm watching you. And if she was uncomfortable, she'd shake her head at us, maybe make a noise. I think she's also pregnant. You can see the big bulge in the back side of her, or the right-hand side of her stomach at the top. I think she's carrying a little calf. And certainly her mammary glands seem to be very swollen, so I think maybe she's about to have a little baby. It will be a tough entrance to the world for that little baby during the middle of a drought. I'm not going to move just yet. I just want to see what's happening here with the bull to the right-hand side. Because I think he's going to come this way. Yeah, here he comes, Tibbs. There's the young bull. Now, we're looking at generally adult elephants here, and there was a young one there, probably of about, probably 8 years. And Kathy, you're in Tennessee, and you want to know the difference between a milk tusk and a normal tusk. Kathy, it's exactly the same as the difference between your milk teeth and your normal teeth, or your adult teeth. They fall out at a certain age, and then they're replaced by older ones. And I'm not sure when the milk tusks actually do fall out in an elephant. I think it's earlier than in a human being, but just in exactly the same way as you've got your baby teeth, and then they all fall out, and you get your adult teeth. So it is with the elephants and their tusks, which are in fact just modified in sizes. And I'm not sure. I think most mammals have got a set of milk teeth that are replaced eventually by the adult versions of the same thing. But I'd be very interested if any of our viewers could tell me any animals that don't have that situation, any mammals that don't have that situation. Yeah, this young bull is just, oh look, they're having a bit of a tussle. I think this young bull is starting to sort of have elevated levels of testosterone. Let's follow him. Around here, and then hopefully get in front of him. You can also have a look at the cow there. The one, the little one. Well, apparently Brent has something exciting. Let's go across to him.
And of course, how wonderful is this? The Queen of Djuma has decided to grace us with her presence. So we're with Karula, the dominant female leopard in this area, and at the moment she is actually lying about 60 meters, 70 meters south of our boundary in the Mawati. Oops, there's my radio, sorry about that. In the Mawati, but I'm hoping she comes north straight towards us. So she obviously, the kill she made to the south of us was obviously very small, but she's left it and she's on the move again. And fingers crossed, when she's finished giving herself a good clean, she heads towards us and decides to come back to Djuma. So leopards, being a solitary predator, spend a lot of time cleaning themselves, and they do give this perception of being wonderfully, beautifully sleek and clean animals. However, they are not. They're literally covered in ticks and other parasites, fleas, but only when you're very close do you start noticing them. And I'm sure if they had a choice, they wouldn't be. They spend a lot of time trying to get rid of all those different itchy creatures. But the black cat days have ended. We have broken the streak of 6 drives with no cats. And what a fitting cat to break the streak with, the Queen of Djuma. So enjoying the nice cool sand of this dry riverbed. There's a couple of other vehicles also enjoying it. As Andrew zooms out, you'll see right in the riverbed. We are sitting on our southern boundary, so you can see it should be about 60-70 meters inside what I think is called, I think it's Hoffman's is the name of the property she's in. It is part of her territory, so not unusual for her to be there, but we're hoping she comes back towards us into the core of her territory, which is Djuma. She does have the look like she might get up and start walking. Fingers crossed. I might have to move because I am blocking the whole road. There's a car coming. Maybe just to move. She is not a flat cat. It is still cool. So oh, there we go. She's moving towards us. That's always a good sign. Looks like she's going to go up the drainage. We might not have the best visual for a while. We are right in the bottom of the river, so sometimes our signal might break up, so we do apologize ahead of time if we have to move. But at the moment we're in the perfect spot and she's coming straight towards us. Okay, so she's popped up. Looks like she's going up the edge of the drainage line. We're going to have to move. We're going to have to try guess where she's going to come out. So while we do that, let's go across to James, who's with the largest member of Africa's Big Five.
Well, now that was very exciting, everybody. There you've got a wonderful sighting of Karula, the Queen, a little bit further east of where I thought she was going to be. But Brent Leo Smith, of course, eyes like a hawk, and he's found her. Now this bull is sitting very close to us. he's probably only about, I'd say, what's that, Tibbs? About 5 meters or so. And he's very relaxed. And he's just not quite confident enough to come any closer. He's young, like I say, about 18. And I think, he looked like he might come between us and the bush. And then he decided better of it because he's a bit nervous. But it's just great spending an extended period with these magnificent animals. And they're so relaxed. Those lilies are taking a hammering. Look at that. They really are selecting for the lilies. It's just a small herd of 4. I'm very sure. In fact, Tibbs, if you just show the cow now, you can see she's about to pop. She's very, very pregnant indeed. You can see how swollen both sides of her belly are. Now we're seeing these elephants walking about, selecting food and doing absolutely nothing else. And Samantha, you're on Twitter and you asked the valid question, how long will they spend feeding a day? I think you'll find some of the big bulls, especially when the conditions are a bit difficult, will probably feed for up to 20 hours of the day in some extreme cases, but otherwise at least 16 hours, Samantha. They've got to get a lot of nutrition into their bodies, and so I think that you'll find at least 16 hours a day they'll be eating. Let's move a little bit closer to that young bull there. I think there are 2 bulls here, and there's a pregnant female and a youngster, probably about 8 years old. That's all we've got. Just the 4. Very happily wandering about here, feeding on lilies, a little bush willow tree. And what we want, of course, is for them to remain totally relaxed around us and just get on with their lives and not pay too much attention to us. They're obviously aware that we're here because we're driving around off-road making a noise, but we want them to be completely comfortable with us. So that doesn't present anything of a threat. Jared, you're on Twitter and you want to know what an elephant's skin feels like. It feels very rough and leathery. It's not soft at all. But you don't really get an opportunity very often to feel an elephant's skin. It's definitely not very soft. Now why I've come this way is that I'm hoping that bull is going to follow the rest of the herd, and I'm pretty sure that it will. So let's follow this little group of 3. They're making a bit of a noise now, so they're moving away a little. I don't like this noise. So I'm just going to turn to the side and let them relax a bit, and let's hope that bull comes through here. Right. Rick and Susie, very nice to hear from you again. I think you're in Seattle now, and here's your feather. You say you're very happy to find that I found your lilac-breasted roller feather. This, of course, looked a lot better when I found it, but it's been a while since I heard from you. Anyway, there we go. There's the lilac-breasted roller feather, and I look forward to receiving the Royal Hawaiian coffee. Delicious. It will help us through these early mornings. And you want to know about elephant digging? Are they digging more at this time of the year? I think the question was. And absolutely, Rick and Susie, they are digging more. all, and they're the only reason that there is any water left at Treehouse Dam at all. I think that there is quite a lot of water flowing in that drainage line under the surface, and the elephants have managed to find it, and they can actually feel it, which I think is the most amazing thing. But difficult here for them to find access to spots where they can actually dig out sufficient water to be able to drink. Let's go back to that bull. He's a little more relaxed than the others. Of course, there are huge numbers of Strychnos madagascarensis plants out here, or black monkey oranges, and they, of course, make a huge noise, clattering up. When you go over them, they clatter back up into the undercarriage of the Land Rover, and that makes a big noise, and some young elephants just don't like it. Back up through here. Here comes the bull. In fact, we might just wait here. Let's just wait here. Here he comes. Oh, look at this. Here he comes. He's showing us how big and strong he is. Mimi, you're in Ohio and you're a first-time viewer, and you say, have I ever seen an elephant give birth? First of all, welcome. Lovely to have you with us. You're 15, and I have never seen an elephant give birth. I've come close, but I've never actually seen the birth itself. Now, what this elephant is doing is basically, by walking towards us and shaking his head a bit, he's saying, well, I'm big and strong, so watch out for me. Then because we haven't run away in terror, what he's done is he's now feeling slightly embarrassed. So he's hidden himself behind that bush willow tree, and he's going to eat a bit and shake the tree to show us how strong he is. Let's see what he does now. He may get a bit cheeky, but I don't think so. Isn't he wonderful? Ah, he's a great bull. He'll get much, much bigger than this. He probably stands now about 10 feet at the shoulder. He'll go up to 12 feet eventually, and he'll get a lot heavier. He's probably about 4 tons now. He'll get up to 6 tons when he's a fully grown bull. So he'll get a third again bigger. He's stopping to have a look. He's exactly like a curious kind of 18-year-old boy. He's just trying to see, test his strength, who's afraid of him, who isn't. He's decided that instead of challenging us, he's going to head off back to his mum and the rest of the herd. All right, I'm not going to follow them anymore. They've got a little bit nervous at the car making a big noise through the bush, so we'll carry on up here. Wonderful stuff to see them, and what a privilege to spend a bit of time with such magnificent animals. Great. On we go. Now, most of these trees, of course, are what we call encroacher species, which means that they're only here because of probably a lack of elephants, actually, and a lack of buffalo. It's got various complicated environmental reasons, and so when we run them over, I don't want you to worry about it. Well, mainly because they do pop up straight afterwards, but I also would like to see far fewer Strychnos trees around here. One last pass. Okay, let's head back to Brent Leo Smith. I'm not sure if he's still got visual of the leopard, and we'll see you a little later.
So, unfortunately, Karula has ascended a large African ebony tree just to the south of our boundary, and that's the best visual we can get. You can barely make her rosettes out. And she's having a good snooze. I know she killed a steenbok yesterday or the day before south of us, so she's sleeping off her full belly. So we're not going to stay here. I will keep my ear to the radio in case she decides to come back towards us, but we're going to head out and see what else we can find. if she does make any movement towards us, we will be back here in a flash. But so, quite an interesting story. We were at the Treehouse Dam earlier, and the owners of Djuma are actually watching the show this morning. So a big hello, good morning, and happy almost New Year to Yuri and Pippa Moorman. And we were talking about the dam, and Pippa sent me a message saying about the history of that treehouse. So, like most places in the Sabi Sands, before the advent of ecotourism, it was owned by farmers and whatnot, and it turned out to be a very bad cattle farming area. So what happened is a lot of the farmers were from KwaZulu-Natal. They used to farm sugarcane, and they would only come to this area for maybe 2-3 months of the year for hunting. And the platform, or the treehouse dam, was actually where they used to bait lions, leopards, to shoot them, and also elephant, buffalo, whatever came through to the water. So isn't it incredible in our lifetime that it's changed, that no one anywhere in the Sabi Sands would ever think about doing something like that anymore. So it's a bit of a history, a bit to remind us about how different the world was not so long ago. So very interesting. So that means that treehouse and that remnants of those tree houses from the 1960s. Isn't that incredible? And still some of it remain in that marilla tree. So it wasn't really a treehouse, more of a shooting platform back in the old days. Oh, I hear a car moving. I just want to see if I can see if Karula's moved. She has not. So if she does move, I will be back here in a flash. But in the meantime, we're going to continue on. So it is a very bad signal area, so we're going to cross to James while I move out of here, and then I'll be back with you a little later.
Okay, we've left the elephants and we're heading up towards the hyena den to see what's going on there. It's got quite warm quite quickly, so I'm not sure that they're going to be around, the little ones. They may have gone inside, and the adults will probably be doing what most clever people are doing around this time of the morning, snoozing under a bush. While we drive along, a big happy new year to Pippa and Yuri Mulman, who of course are the owners of Djuma Private Game Reserve. This little piece of paradise that we're very privileged to call home and that we explore on a daily basis. And what a privilege it was to spend most of yesterday on foot, climbing trees and walking through the blocks here. Just very special to spend time in a wilderness area like this on foot. So thank you to the two of you, and I hope you have a marvelous, marvelous new year. So we're heading on towards quarantine clearings. Perhaps some of those little wildebeest are sitting around there, and as I've said before, the youngsters are surviving due to the absence of cats, so they won't be vaguely sad not to see any lions around here for the next little while. And every single day they just get slightly stronger, and it just gives them a much better chance. I mean, so often I've seen a small herd of wildebeest like that give birth, and if there are lions around, they'll kill 3 or 4 a night. So that's why the wildebeest in this area, because the cat concentration in the Sabi Sands is pretty high, wildebeest concentration pretty low, and doesn't get much higher very often because the cats just pick off the little babies. Unlike the impala, of course, once they've reached a certain critical mass, and beyond which, because they're all giving birth at the same time, the numbers still increase, regardless of whether, how many. The predators just can't eat enough for them to damage or reduce the recruitment rate of the impala. Struggling for a word there. Or some guinea fowl, and while we are sitting here, I will explain Teresa's question. I think these birds are beautiful and shining in the light here. Teresa, you say, why, if an elephant's inside or tusk is considered a tooth, Why are the rest of their teeth not considered ivory? I think for two reasons, Teresa. Look at the flycatcher hovering there. Did you see that, Ted? If you got him, would have been very lucky if you did. It's flown away. A little flycatcher that came in. Teresa, firstly, I don't think that you can work the sort of ivory in the molars. I think it's much more crumbly. I don't think it would work into sort of the jewelry and carvings that you can do with a tusk. And secondly, because human beings are just a bit gormless, and we consider that the incisor of an elephant and the ability to work it into some kind of jewelry or ornament, we consider that to be a valuable thing, and so that's been termed ivory. Whereas the teeth, I don't think you can work to the same extent, and therefore isn't given that designation. But it's entirely because us human beings have attached worth to ivory. And when you read some of the historical accounts of what happened when settlers landed in Africa and when they're bringing with them guns, the astonishing numbers of elephant tusks, the mass, sort of 60 tons a year here and there, and 120 tons there, and 250 tons here, of the sheer grand scale of the slaughter of elephants in Africa once guns arrived on the shores is quite astonishing. And so when I say to you that I don't believe there are quite enough elephants in this area, some scientists, and I use the term advisedly, will tell you there are too many elephants around. And there were 8 elephants left in this area when the Kruger National Park was proclaimed. Just 8. The rest had been shot for their ivory, and essentially an entirely worthless commodity. You can't use it to make anything other than to feed the vanity of human beings. And it's a real indictment on our species that it got to that stage. Unfortunately, as we know with the rhino, that hasn't necessarily ended. Obviously people think that it can be used for medicine, even though it cannot. But with elephants, there's just no excuse. Ex-Ranga, you want to know about, I said that they can feel water with their, when they dig. They can feel subsurface water, and you want to know if that's with their trunks or with their feet. Ex-Ranga, I'm pretty sure it's with their feet. They have very sensitive nervous systems on the bottom of their feet. I think those are used for communication as well. Certainly schools of thought that say that they can communicate tectonically by stamping. They can feel vibrations in the ground from other elephants. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. I've certainly seen various videos to that effect. But certainly their feet would be able to detect the flow of water close to the surface of the soil. So I think it's through their feet, Ex-Ranga. Lovely little scene here on quarantine clearings with the guinea fowl, and the guinea fowl, of course, are an important thing to take inspiration from for the 10 to 8 race that is going to take place probably on these very clearings. The guinea fowl is a very fast runner. I'm going to try and take some inspiration from that in my attempt to beat Brent Longleg in the 50-meter dash.